Hello everyone and welcome to Collection Reflection. Today we will be reflecting on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 30th Anniversary VHS Green Ranger. And before we look at the figure, we're gonna check out his packaging. I really enjoy the artwork that they put on the front of these boxes. Here's the side of the packaging, and the other. And on the back we get a nice picture of the character with his accessories and a nice little bio. The Green Ranger morphs into battle with the power of the Dragon Zord. Here is what you find inside of the packaging. I think that's very nice. And this is all the paper that the figure comes in. But at the end of it you get this nice backdrop. Now that we've seen his packaging, let's take a closer look at the figure itself. Starting off with the head sculpt, you can see that they did have a minor paint mishap there, but I do like the silver that they chose, and the teeth are sculpted nice. The mouthpiece looks like it was sculpted in pretty well. The eyes look good, and I actually really appreciate that they painted that little diamond there in gold and red. I also like all the extra lines and details that they put into the figure as well. Moving down to the dragon shield, it is not a shiny material at all, it is just a matte, almost rubbery plastic, but it still looks pretty good. I like the paint work that they used on the center of the chest, and it's awesome to see that they painted the diamonds underneath even though that paint is chipping already. Thankfully it is a rubbery material so it doesn't hinder articulation too much. The armbands are just painted, they are not sculpted, so watch out for all that paint scratching, especially if you're trying to lift up his arms. I think they did a great job on the gloves. I like the little gold accent and the green triangles. The belt unfortunately doesn't have a lot of detail on it, but I am glad that they got the correct color for the morpher. Unfortunately it is chipping, just like with the rest of the paint. It does suck that the holster that he has is for the blade blaster. I think it would have been nice if they would have given him a specific holster for his dragon dagger, because it does like to fall out very easily. There's some nice sculpted detail on the legs to pick out some muscles and those wrinkles in his clothes. And just like with his gloves, his boots are very well done with that gold accent and those green triangles. And yes, the bottom of the shoes are painted black. The dragon shield does not seem like it is removable, even though it has those little notches. I'm pretty sure if I tried to take it apart, it would not be easy to put it back together. But if you own this figure and you've done it yourself, let me know if it works. It's time to take a closer look at his articulation. He's got a 360 movement in the head with slight tilt. He looks up that far and down that far. He can move his arms out to the side pretty well, and he can rotate them 360 because that shield is rubbery enough. You can move both arms up before it becomes an issue to about there. But watch out for the paint scratches because that's exactly where the armbands are. Single jointed elbows that give him a little bit less than 90, but they can swivel 360. Just like the White Ranger, he can do an incredible splits, and he can kick forward about that far and back about that far. Single jointed knee, and it does rotate 360. The Green Ranger has a nice range of basic articulation, and I really appreciate how flexible they made that shield. Now let's head on over to the accessories. First up, here's his shiny holographic power coin, and I really appreciate how it reflects off of almost any kind of lighting. But as I said in my White Ranger review, be careful about shining it in your eyes because it really can blind you. Next up we have his trademark dragon dagger. You can see the little mouthpiece along with all the buttons, since he can play it like a flute to summon his Zord. The dragon dagger can be holstered, but since it wasn't designed to actually hold the dagger, it is very, very loose. His final accessory is the Sword of Darkness, which I'm very pleased came with this figure because it is not going to come with the remastered Green Ranger. I really like all the curves and spikes that they put into it, and even at the bottom there's that little tassel piece, but it is all one piece of solid plastic. All of his accessories are a little flimsy, but they are not the soft kind of rubbery flimsy. They just feel like thin plastic, so be careful about snapping them. You can place the Sword of Darkness in his holster, but it is not easy to get in, and the bottom part of the holster is pretty small, so getting it out is also probably going to stretch it. I would not recommend displaying your figure this way. He can hold both of the swords in his hands very well, although since he doesn't come with another place to store the sword, it has to be in his hand at all times, or it's just going to be a floating accessory. Now that we've looked at his accessories, let's head on over to some comparisons. Starting off with some taller figures, we have Legacy Bludgeon and the Lightning Collection's version of Shredder as the Green Ranger. For a more standard 6-inch comparison, we have the G.I. Joe Classified's Lowlight and the Lightning Collection's Lord Draken. And I think the Green Ranger and Lord Draken actually pair pretty well together. Our next comparison, we have the BST AXN Leonardo and the VHS series White Ranger, which I've already done a review on. I did have a lot of similar thoughts and opinions on the Green Ranger as I mentioned in the White Ranger review, so I did my best to not repeat myself. Moving down the scale, we have Dragon Ball Evolved's Super Saiyan Goku and SH Figuarts' Kid Sasuke. I actually think that these two characters pair pretty well together. For the 4-inch comparison, we have a couple of characters from DC's Spin Master. We have the Joker and Mr. Freeze. And I'm sad to see what direction the Spin Master line is going in. They've only really been producing movie figures so far, and those have not been as good as these ones, in my opinion. And for the final faction comparison, we have Riptide and Crepitus. This is another toy line that I wish would continue, but sadly I haven't heard any information about what is next for them. And before we get to our final comparison, the biggest favor that you could do for me right now is let me know in the comments below if there's any figures that you just saw that you would like me to review. And now, pumpkin wrapper's head. When thinking of ways to enhance this figure, the main thing I thought of is trying to find a way to keep his dragon dagger in his holster, and maybe also trying to find a place for his sword of darkness. Basically, at this point in the show, if I can't fix it with a rubber band, then I probably can't fix it at all. Basically, all I've done is take this black rubber band and slide it over the figure's waist so that it can try and hold on to those accessories. As of now, this is the best configuration I've been able to come up with without actually making anything permanent. But as you can see, it does help a lot with the dragon dagger staying in place, and it gives him a couple of options in ways that he can store his blade of darkness. But let me know what you think. Have you found an easier or better way to store his accessories or fix that holster of his? Let me know in the comments down below. So now we come to the question. Should we collect this figure or reflect it? Honestly, the Green Ranger has always been one of my favorite Power Rangers, and this figure is actually my first Green Ranger figure ever. So I am very happy that I own him. However, if you have a ton of Green Ranger figures already and you don't need someone to just fill up that slot, then he might not be the figure for you, since he doesn't have the posability or a human head sculpt that you might be looking for. With all that being said, if you can find this figure in stores for less than $20, I would suggest you collect this figure. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to check out one of my videos, and I would honestly appreciate if you decided to leave a comment or even share it around with someone else that might enjoy my content as well. I hope you all have a nice chuckle at some point in your day, and please try to be kind to somebody, because it could really change their life. I'll talk to you next time.